Hello, my dear friends. I'm Dr. Vaishali Bharambe, Professor Anatomy. And what are we covering in this lecture? We're talking about the axillary artery, its divisions, its relations, its branches, scapular anastomosis, and axillary vein. What's this? Interesting? Okay. So you're looking at what happens when there's an axillary artery lesion and the blood manages to bypass this axillary block, and see how the blood is bypassing the block and continuing to supply your upper limb in this manner. This and much more in today's lecture. Come. So axilla part 2. In axilla part 1, we discussed what are the walls of axilla, how it has an apex, base, and anterior, posterior, medial, and lateral walls. Then we talked about what are the contents, which arteries, which veins, which nerves, which lymph nodes, and what are the other structures we find in axilla. We also covered the nerves in the form of brachial plexus, long thoracic nerve, and intercostobrachial nerve. So all this was covered in axilla part 1, and today we move on to the arteries and veins. The axillary artery, its branches, and axillary vein. Come. So remember that a lot of upper extremity videos can be found on my website vbanatomy.com. If you want to learn more upper extremity, you can go visit that my website. Right. So I'm going to start this video with a lovely LAQ, which is very commonly asked in university exams. Describe the axillary artery under the following heads. What is the course, parts, relations, branches, applied anatomy? I've even given you the marks breakup. At the end of this video, you should be able to completely write this long answer. Okay? Come. So axillary artery. Axillary artery begins at the lateral edge of first rib as the continuation of subclavian artery. Crossing through the axilla, it leaves the axilla at the lower border of teres major, forming the brachial artery. This is my artery. I want you to focus on that. It's medially related to the axillary vein and laterally to the brachial plexus. It's crossed by pectoralis minor muscle, which helps to divide it into first, second, and third part. First part is from the first rib to the upper border of pectoralis minor. Second part is behind the pectoralis minor. Third part is from the lower end of pectoralis minor to the lower edge of the teres major muscle. So these are the three parts, and that's what we're going to discuss today. If you're liking this lecture, do please like, share, and subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon. If you want more detailed videos, surgical anatomy videos, downloadable notes, MCQs, do visit my website www.vbanatomy.com. And do once in a while comment to the video, because then only I will know whether you're having any doubts, and I'll be happy to clarify your doubts. I need you to comment on the videos. Thank you, students. Let's continue. So, relations of each part of axillary artery is what we are going to discuss now. This is the first part. It's covered anteriorly. Anything which is lying inside the axilla will be anteriorly always covered by skin, superficial fascia, pectoralis major muscle with pectoral fascia, clavipectoral fascia, and structures piercing clavipectoral fascia. Remember the mnemonic: tender, loving care. T for thoracoacromial artery, L for lateral pectoral nerve, C for cephalic vein. So all these structures are always going to be anteriorly related to the first part of axillary artery. Take a look. That's your pectoralis major. That's the pectoralis minor, clavipectoral fascia here in green, cephalic vein, thoracoacromial artery, lateral pectoral nerve. Let's talk about posterior relations of the axillary artery. It's related posteriorly to the serratus anterior, long thoracic nerve of Bell, medial cord, and medial pectoral nerve. I'll show you all this. Okay. So here you're seeing the serratus anterior muscle, long thoracic nerve of Bell, In this diagram, you can see the medial cord passing behind the axillary artery and giving rise to the medial pectoral nerve. So these are posterior relations of the first part. Anterior you saw, posterior you saw. Let's talk about medial and lateral. Laterally, it's related to the lateral and posterior quadribrachial plexus. Medially, it's related to the axillary vein. Just study this diagram to understand. Okay, it's not difficult at all. Actually, I talk a lot, but there's no need for me to talk. The image itself gives you all the knowledge you need. Right. Let's now talk about this second part. Okay. So the second part is again anteriorly related to skin, superficial fascia, pectoralis minor, pectoralis major, enclosed in clavipectoral fascia. The rest of the relations, laterally it's related to the lateral cord, posteriorly to the posterior cord, medially to the medial cord and the axillary vein. So second part is very easy to remember. As per the names, the structures, the cords are related to the axillary artery. Let's talk about the third part of axillary artery and its relations. The third part has some rather unique relations. It's crossed anteriorly by the medial root of median nerve, by the pectoralis major muscle along with the pectoral fascia. Laterally, it's related to the lateral root of median nerve, the musculocutaneous nerve. Also the coracobrachialis and short head of bicep. Medially, it's related to the medial cutaneous nerve of forearm and the ulnar nerve, along with the axillary vein. You can see that. Posteriorly, see this is your axillary artery, okay? Posteriorly, it's related to the subscapularis, teres major, latissimus dorsi, axillary nerve and the radial nerve. All structures are clearly visualized, just take time to see them. So now there is your axillary artery. We've understood the relations of first part, second part and the third part. Now let's understand what branches does it give out. It gives rise to the first part giving rise to one branch, second part giving rise to two branches, third part giving rise to three branches. Okay, so what are these branches? First part gives rise to superior thoracic artery. Second part gives rise to thoracoacromial and lateral thoracic artery. Third part gives rise to anterior and posterior circumflex humeral artery and subscapular artery. Okay, so these are very easy to remember. First part 1, second part 2, third part 3. Now you have to only remember the names. First part superior thoracic, second part thoracoacromial and lateral thoracic, third part subscapular and anterior and posterior circumflex humeral arteries. Let's learn a little bit about each of them. If you're liking this lecture, do please like, share and subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon. For more detailed anatomy lectures, surgical anatomy videos, draw and label, downloadable notes, visit my website www.vbanatomy.com. Link is in the description section. So let's talk about the first part, which gives rise to superior thoracic artery, which runs along the upper border of pectoralis minor. You can see that. Thoracoacromial artery is this one. It actually divides into 4 branches. Okay, so the 4 branches are acromial going towards your acromion, pectoral going towards your pectoral, deltoid going towards your deltoid, and clavicular, which is distributed in the region of the clavicle. So thoracoacromial is quite a biggish artery giving rise to so many branches. Lateral thoracic is clinically relevant. It runs along the lower border of pectoralis minor and it supplies the mammary gland. So this becomes very important later when you have mammary gland related surgeries. I told you how third part gave rise to 3 branches. The subscapular artery, which is the largest branch of axillary artery, gives rise to circumflex artery and together they form a scapular anastomosis. We will be discussing this soon. The anterior and posterior circumflex wind around the humerus, forming an anastomosis there. Anterior circumflex also gives rise to an ascending branch that runs in the bicipital groove. Posterior circumflex passes through the quadrangular space accompanying the axillary nerve. I want you to read the details of scapular anastomosis on your own, though I will be teaching it briefly today as well. So here you're looking at the scapula, the clavicle, the subclavian artery, the axillary artery. You can see that this is the axillary artery crossed by the pectoralis minor muscle. So this is subscapular artery giving rise to circumflex scapular artery. This is thoracocervical trunk giving rise to suprascapular artery and superficial cervical, a branch of which winds around scapula called the deep branch of superficial cervical. You can see that all these are forming an anastomosis around the scapula, isn't it? So now I want you to imagine a blockage of axillary artery. If the axillary artery was blocked here, how will you supply your upper limb? The entire upper limb is dependent on this one artery. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? See how beautiful the human body is? That what happens is that blood passes along the scapula, along that anastomotic channel that got produced, and then goes on to reach the third part of axillary artery and goes on to supply the upper limb. That's the beauty of anastomosis. And that's why I want you to read details of this scapular anastomosis, because axillary blockage is supplemented by this anastomosis. Right. So because of anastomotic channel, it is possible to ligate the axillary artery if damaged and still have blood supply for the upper limb. Scapular anastomosis will make sure upper limb receives blood supply. When a scalpel is introduced inside the axilla of the patient to drain an axillary abscess, should be very careful. Going between the anterior and posterior axillary folds, go close to lateral wall of axilla. Otherwise, you will injure the lateral thoracic artery, the axillary artery, the subscapular artery. So these arteries, when you're approaching axilla, are close to the chest wall and you don't want to damage them. So stay as close to the lateral wall as possible. A brief description of axillary vein won't take more than 2-3 minutes. Axillary vein is here, okay, formed by union of venae comitans around the brachial artery along with the basilic vein, okay. The course is medial to the axillary artery, crossing the first rib now as the subclavian vein. Here's your cephalic vein, which also drains into the axillary vein along with a lot of veins coming from the mammary gland. Spontaneous thrombosis of axillary vein can occasionally occur after unaccustomed movements of the shoulder joint. That's it. That's all you need to know. Axillary sheath, now that's important. Axillary sheath is a downward continuation of the prevertebral fascia of your neck. It forms a sheath around the axillary artery, vein and brachial plexus, okay, and holding them together, protecting them. Now, how does it matter to us? Fine, there is a sheath. Now, what happens is you use that sheath for creating a brachial plexus block. How do you do that? The procedure is described here. I'm going to just tell you in brief that you inject the anesthetic inside the axillary sheath. Of course, making sure you're not injecting it into the axillary artery or vein. And then you compress the sheath at the distal end and inject the anesthetic. When the anesthetic gets injected, because of the tight space that axillary sheath has created, it's very easily possible to create a brachial plexus block. And that's the procedure that has been described here. The patient's arm is abducted. Now let's discuss that, okay? The patient's arm is abducted at 90 degrees. Axillary artery is palpated. Because you know where it is, you know where the brachial plexus cords are. They're going to be around it in the axillary sheath. After cleaning the area, insert the needle, usually just superior or just within the sheath, not too much inside. Before injecting, okay, gentle pressure is put at the distal end, okay, to close off the distal end of the axillary sheath. Aspirate to make sure you're not injecting into a blood vessel. Now inject the anesthetic. This spreads within the axillary sheath, blocking the cords of brachial plexus, producing anesthesia of the distal upper limb. Do please read this and study it. To summarize, what did we learn? We learned what is axilla, what are the contents, we talked about axillary artery, and when we started with a fantastic LAQ. I hope now you're going to be able to solve that LAQ. Then what is the extent of the artery? What are its three parts? Relations of first, second, third part. Branches of each of the parts. We discussed applied anatomy, scapular anastomosis, drainage of axillary abscess, axillary vein, and axillary sheath and brachial plexus block. That's a lot we covered in quite a decently short video. Okay. If you like this video, do please like, share, and subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon. For more of such detailed videos, do please visit my website vbanatomy.com. The link is in the description section. Thank you, students. The next lecture is about the lymph nodes in the axilla. Do please attend that as well. Bye.